This is the Akashvani Imphal. In our weekly program of English Talk today, we have the first part of the interview with Ravina Khumanlambam, Doctoral Scholar, Doctor of Public Health, Department of Health Education and Behavioral Sciences, Mahidol University, Thailand, with our interviewer Kakchingtabam, Ritesh, Sharma.
A very good morning, Ravina. Good to have you here in Akashvani Imphal. And in order to let the listeners know more about you, let's have a brief introduction about yourself.
Sure. Very good morning, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank for having me here today. So my name is Ravina Khumanlambam, and currently I'm pursuing my doctoral degree in public health, specializing or majoring in health education and behavioral sciences. And prior to this, I had done 2 masters. Both happens to be in the branch of psychology itself. Firstly, Masters of Science in Applied Psychology, and secondly, Masters of Science in Counseling and Family Therapy. So that's just a very brief introduction about myself. I hope we can delve into more details.
Okay. Instead of choosing a subject which most would prefer, for example, with the trend we have in India, we either go for a general line to prepare for civil service or go for a professional line like doctors, engineers. Why you have to choose a subject like psychology?
Right. So there's a very interesting story behind this, the question that you've raised. So growing up, I think from my first standard, I studied outside. I was not in Imphal most of my life. My father was posted outside and so did my mother. She also took a transfer. We decided to stay as a family together. So I did my schooling in Guwahati from first standard until 10th standard. Honestly speaking, the English that I'm speaking today, at one point of my life, I would not be able to even communicate because it was a new town, new city. All I knew was Manipur, Mahidol, right? My native language. But once I was there, I think it was highly of a concern for my parents as well as my class teacher. And that how are we going to communicate with your child? Because I did not know Assamese, I did not know English or even Hindi. You could say that I was just like a lost child in the classroom. However, with time and situation, as it took a turn, I tried to socialize. I still can't seem to recall the day I realized that I know how to speak multiple languages such as Assamese, Hindi or English. I never know. So with that, when I approached my 9th and 10th, I was very weak in science. I don't know, for some reason, in my 9th standard, I could not understand basics, yes, I did understand. Until my 8th grade, I was fine with science. But beyond that, I did not understand the subject itself, science, chemistry, biology was fine so far. So I kind of developed this aversion towards science at that point of my life. However, given the circumstances there, 9th and 10th, I had to prepare really hard for my boards, which is definitely crucial. All my classmates or my batchmates, they were looking into engineering, medical, as you said. However, I think at that point of time, 2010, 11, psychology was a very new subject. I'm sure it was even newer earlier, but for my time, it was very new. But I had seniors who could guide me. There were a few seniors, 1 or 2 seniors that I was in touch with back then. And they were the ones who introduced to me about psychology. So a little further away from the whole pure science, let's say, because psychology now is an applied science. I began to develop my interest in psychology, the study of mind and behavior. And I began to be very observant around me. And that's when I figured out that this has to be the subject that I need to pursue, at the same time trying to escape from the whole science trap or scenario that I was facing. I think that's how I developed the interest in psychology and decided that I have to pursue. So after my 10th, I also challenged myself to move out of Guwahati because I was too comfortable in one place. My parents did ask me back then that, don't you think you're still young? You could still complete your 11th and 12th here. Your friends are here. But deep down, I had this urge in me that no, I have to step out of my comfort zone if I need to grow. And that's when I decided to pursue arts, 11th and 12th in arts. I had psychology, sociology, history, economics during my 11th and 12th.
Okay. Did your parents really agree to the fact that you're going to take a subject like psychology after 10? Most parents would prefer that their child would take a professional line subject. Right. Did your parents oppose the fact that you're going to take a subject like that?
Yeah, I get where the question is coming from, but confidently 100% yes, my parents were very supportive. Another interesting fact is that in my family, I have another brother, older brother. My parents were from the commerce background. My brother was from science background. And I pursued good arts. All of us were from this dynamic background. Nobody had this say over the other that, you're supposed to do this or you're not supposed to do this.
Okay.
So they gave us freedom to choose or to pursue what we were genuinely interested in. So 100% confidently, I could say that my parents were incredibly supportive of this decision made.
The reason why I asked that is because there are some peer pressure as well. Anyway, when I look into your profile, it seems that you have a brief schooling in Imphal in Manipur, and then you moved to DPS school in Guwahati. It's a long journey of schooling. Can you please share us the experience that you have gone through during your schooling days, your days in Bangalore, in Christ College, as well as the experience that you have gone through in South Korea?
From what I can recall or recollect is in Guwahati, in DPS, it was a very competitive environment.
Okay.
But along with the competition, I mean, there are pros and cons, but the pros would definitely be that I tried to put myself in the race in a healthy way. That's how I'm able to even speak this language today, the way I'm speaking. And also teachers there in DPS Guwahati, they were very supportive. In our times, teachers were in fact extremely strict. But I think with the discipline given, we were able to mold ourselves into what we are today. So school was a mixture of both positive and negatives. Until my middle school, it was extremely stressful. I was an outsider back then. Very few Manipuris or Meiteis were there back then.
In Guwahati?
Right.
Okay.
In DPS Guwahati, I think a handful of just 4 or 5 of us.
Okay.
So we were initially looked upon as like an outsider, but as time grew, hostels had opened in our school and people from different states were welcome. They joined our school. I think that's when the awareness was there about different states and students were more acceptive then. But now together, class 9 and 10 were the best days of my life. Okay. That's when I had my own circle of friends, just like a family. It was like from one family to another, from home to another home. And that's how I felt my journey from my home, like the bus stop to the school. It was amazing. I always looked forward to meeting my classmates, my friends. Academics was there, but I think that became secondary at one point. I did what was needed, homeworks, assignments, or exams, but I think the time and experiences I shared with my friends, I will never forget. They're still my friends even until today. Then after my DPS days, until my 10th, that's when I made a bold decision, just alone. Nobody was there. It was not that, one of my dear friend was going to Bangalore for the 11th and 12th. No. I heard about Christ University back then when I was in my 9th standard. I made up my mind there and then. I needed to go to Christ. I did my research. I looked it up. What were the requirements, eligibility criteria? Yeah. So 10th was over, had a decent grade, and I was confident that maybe I would be able to make it to Christ. Upon my arrival in Bangalore, Christ, unfortunately or fortunately, which I will find out later, initially I thought it was unfortunate that I was not able to make it to their deadline. So the deadline had already passed. There in South, they begin their admissions way early. I was not aware of that. I lacked a little bit on my research. So upon my arrival, they said, "You're late for the admissions. Sorry, we won't be able to." And then in one single day, it was like a movie. We went to multiple pre-university colleges and schools. Where could we make it? Finally ended up in Jain College. And upon hindsight, I realized that it was, I think, the best decision then. Because if I were to enter Christ, if you utilize the opportunities there, it's amazing. But I think if I expose myself in 11 and 12 with 95% attendance and, a lot of pressure. I mean, again, it has its pros and cons, but I was a newbie there in town. So I think little leniency was what I preferred then. And Jane, the teachers there, again, they were very supportive. In the classroom, it was just the 3 of us who were from outside. And teachers were always there whenever needed, if we needed any guidance and such. So I really worked hard during my 11th and 12th. I think that was a point when my parents even left trying to encourage me to study because they knew I was doing what I needed to do. And with my 12 results, again, I was very happy, fairly happy with my grades. And Christ happened after that. So the goal that I had set during my 9th standard that I needed to make it to Christ, I made that dream come true. I entered Christ. 2 years of my bachelor's degree, I was in Bangalore itself. And during my first year and second year, I had the opportunity to learn Korean as a language, second language. We had a Korean department there with Korean professors. So we were informed that 2 students would be selected if we had passed a certain grade to be sent to South Korea for an exchange program for 1 year. Again, that was my next target. I set my target, learn learned the language, cleared till level 2 in my university at Christ. And then next thing I realize is I'm in South Korea.
Sorry to interrupt. Why you're so persistent about the Christ College? You could have studied in other colleges. Why you're so adamant about Christ College?
So the young Ravina then in class 9 heard a lot of stories about Christ, how cool it was, how the education system there. Yes, definitely that it was strict, well-disciplined, but the opportunities given there, a lot of international crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, so that tempted me towards Christ, and also the competition. I really wanted to upgrade myself from what I was back then. A lot of good positive things about Christ with a little, here and there negatives. So that's, I think, the main drive with what I was led to that destination. And rest is history. It was in Christ. It was far from reality though, what I expected. Yes, a lot of good things, positives, but I think my other Christ batchmates could also agree that it's like a pressure cooker at some point of time, because there are assignments given. You're supposed to analyze this literature. I also had English literature during my undergrad days. It was a triple major program, so psychology, sociology, and English literature.
Okay.
And you're supposed to submit this assignment by 9 p.m. tonight. If you had any plans to go out, or if you just wanted to relax after our hard days of classes or work, no. The reality hit really hard. That's one of the examples. But besides that, they actually pushed us to our limits, not just academics, extracurricular activities. I am not a singer. I was made to be a part of a choir as a class performance.
Okay.
I was made to do street play. It's outside or beyond my comfort zone. But that's when I realized that, okay, I think I am capable of something or the other. They tested us with our capabilities, skills, patience, I think. Patience was the key to being in the environment of Christ. And then, as I mentioned earlier, for my final year, the best opportunity that Christ might have given to me was the exchange program to South Korea. And there, I think the opportunity is doubled, not even doubled, I think 10 times of what I was already experiencing in Christ. First semester in South Korea, Gwangju, Cheonnam National University, that's where I was at. I pushed myself to another limit where I took extra credits, as in if we were to take just 5 courses, I took 7 courses in the first semester.
Okay, you took extra.
Yeah, I took extra. I was pushing myself again here. And yes, with that came multiple challenges, because I also wanted to engage myself in other activities such as like part-time jobs. I heard a lot about part-time jobs, really wanted to explore that part of me, because in India, if I have to honestly speak, I did not get that chance. It's not about the fact that my parents did not support me enough. Nothing as such. It was just me, myself, that I wanted to push myself and see where I could reach. So I auditioned myself, even a radio host program out there in Gwangju Foreign Network. I had that wonderful journey there as well. I hosted Viva DJ. It was called Viva DJ. We had to come up with themes of various genres or music, and we hosted that. That was live every day from morning, I think 7 to 8. So I had to prepare the script after my classes and also engage in a part-time job of English teaching. And once in a week, I would go and volunteer at the Gwangju International Center. There was an exchange program, Korean and English. So Korean natives and international students would come. We would sort them out in groups, and we would have like a language exchange meet and greet program. So I was also a volunteer there. Then my university also offered this opportunity to be as a guest writer at the Cheonnam Tribune, our university magazine. So yeah, I tried all sorts of things. It was just limitless. There were really harsh days, but at the end of the day, what I realized again is challenges will come, hurdles will come, but my social support, my friends, my family who is there for me. Once I'm in my room, I know whom to call, I know whom to share my sorrows or happiness. So they were the pillars, I think, to my life so far, and I'm sure even in the future.
So talking to All India Radio must be a cup of tea for you.
No. This is another experience that I looked forward. This is the first. And even there in South Korea, I was asked about Manipur. It was a very proud moment that I had representing Manipur. They never heard about Manipur there. Northeastern part of India, and then our culture. I think that's when I realized that a young Ravina who is nothing or nobody in this world, I could still be that tiny molecule of representation there.
Okay, and let's come to the exchange program. You said you applied for the exchange program, and you have to go through 2 more extracurricular activities to go through with that. How difficult it is to get into an exchange program like that, and if somebody studying there have to apply for an exchange program, what are the things that need to be done?
Right. So back in 2017, that's when I applied to Christ. We had to maintain a minimum GPA of, I think, 3.2. So I had to set that target. If I did not make it, I would not be eligible in the first place. And secondly, the language. So Christ offered levels of language, like level 1 Korean language, level 2. So we had to also clear level 2 of Korean language. Because once you're in the other side, yeah, it might sound very fancy that South Korea, because we watch K-dramas or the hype with K-pop these days with youngsters.
Right.
That was not the case for me. Once I arrived in Korea and I saw a signboard outside the airport, it was written in Korean, Hanguk. I could read it. I was able to read the script. So that's when I realized the importance of Korean as a language, and not just the reading and writing part, the speaking.
Okay.
Because not many people would be speaking in English out there. Although it was like a broken Korean here and there, or the market language, I was able to manage just fine. So that was, I think, the two main criteria I had to face.
Okay, which means you have to take the Korean language
Yes.
and maintain the GPA.
GPA, right.
Okay. How was the experience there in South Korea? How's the tradition and culture there? But people say that Northeast India is quite similar to the South Asian countries. So how was it, and how was your experience there?
As soon as I landed, yes, although we do share the Mongoloid features or the race,
Right.
I could still clearly distinguish they were much more fairer than we are out here, I think. As time passed by, I realized the importance or the stress they had on the physical appearance.
Okay.
In India, when I was in Bangalore, I want to go out and have a cup of tea. I just go out in my pajamas. I'm very comfortable. But in Korea, with my Korean roommate, that's how I learned about this. One fine day, she was wearing a mask and heading downstairs. And I asked her, oh, what happened? Why are you wearing a mask? And this is way before COVID. COVID happened in 2019, 20.
Okay.
This was in 2017. She said, oh, no, I am worried because I did not wear my makeup. She was just heading downstairs from dormitory. So that was a cultural shock for me. I already noticed people were well dressed. It's great. Even I would love to dress well. It did influence to a certain extent where I would try to dress up as well when I head to school, to my class. But besides that comfort that we have in India, wearing pajamas, pair of slippers, just going out. No, that was not the case in Korea. So they highly stress upon their looks, and being skinny was considered, an ideal physique. Again, that was surprising. Females, even in schools where I used to go and have part-time jobs, girls of grade 6, 7, class 6, 7, they would highly be worried or concerned about their physical appearance, that they needed to look thin. They had makeup, carried their makeup items. I don't even remember what.
In school?
Yeah, in school.
Okay.
In school. Whenever the teachers, they would be out of sight, they would try to apply their makeup on, and they would always have their hair rollers, their fringes. They would always have the roller. They tried their level best to look as ideal as possible in the society. What we watch in K-drama, yes, is not really the reality, but they try the best to portray that.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a cultural shock. Besides that, again, positive things that I came across were the people there. Very sweet, very humble, very kind. Coming to friends now, made really good friends from Malaysia, from Philippines, from Bangladesh. Lifelong friends, lifelong mentors, guide that I have been blessed with through South Korea.
Okay, so it's only 1 year. Even though it sounds like a short period of time,
Right.
you must have known things about the career opportunities in Korea, as well as the system, how the system works. How does the system work there in Korea? Is it competitive?
Yes, coming to job prospects or the fields that they pursue, it's pretty similar to India in that way. But then me as a non-native, I think it would be different because in Korea itself, amongst the Koreans, it's highly competitive.
Okay.
But for a foreign national, maybe it wouldn't be as competitive as it is for them, for the natives, because we already have different job profiles for
Right.
international employees or like students. Given the situation that Korean natives do face this competitive nature, they also have some exams that they appear after the 12th. I forgot the name of it, but extremely competitive. Students, right after their school, they go and attend hagwons where they sit there until 10 p.m., 11 p.m., non-stop working.
Okay.
Kind of similar to the tuition culture we have here in
okay.
students in their circus of attending tuitions after tuitions after tuitions and then class.
Even in midnight,
Even in midnight. So that's one thing. And job profile, I think the IT sector is booming. Medical. In medical, we already know how highly the tech there or technology there, how well developed it is over there. So given that the IT sector, then the medical scenario, plastic surgery is a huge industry there in South Korea. It's very common if I have to compare or relate it with the setting here in India.
Well, listeners, you have just listened to the first part of the interview with Ravina Khumanlambam, doctoral scholar, Doctor of Public Health, Department of Health Education and Behavioral Sciences, Mahidol University, Thailand, with our interviewer, Kakchingtabam, Ritesh Sharma. We'll be back for the concluding part. Until then, stay happy and healthy.